Let's spend a few minutes looking at what the Series 63 is all about and what these DVDs will be all about. The Series 63, as you know, is about state securities law, and the particular law that will be referenced on the test is called the Uniform Securities Act, which really isn't the law in a particular state. What it is, it's a model or a template that the states use to keep their securities laws uniform. And the organization of state regulators who are in charge of this exam, we refer to them as NASA. That's the North American Securities Administrators Association. And you see that there are various rollovers up here. If you look under Industry and Regulatory Resources, you can look at the forms, for example, Form BD, the U4, Form ADV for advisors. Really good information here for investment advisors, and we can also get a link to the 3 exams that NASA is in charge of, the Series 63, the 65, and 66. So if you're studying for the Series 63, I think you might want to at least look at the study guide. And the study guide tells us how the 60 questions are divided. 18 of them are on registration of persons, broker-dealers, advisors, agents, how they have to get licensed, real common test questions such as your license will expire on December 31st unless properly renewed. What are the books and records that are required? 15 questions on securities. We'll have to answer in particular questions whether the investment met the definition of a security or whether we actually had an offer or a sale. Was the security subject to registration, or was it exempt because it was an exempt security, or maybe it was sold through an exempt transaction? Obviously, we see that business practices is a major part of the test. It's the most important part, with 21 of 60 questions talking about violations, including churning or selling away from the firm or misleading communications with clients. And then we finally have 6 of the 60 questions coming from the scope of the act or the administrator's powers, how they go about issuing, deny, suspend, and revoke orders, etc. And so you should have this outline. And there are other resources you can get. For example, when we click Contact Your Regulator, a map of the U.S. and Canada comes up. Well, maybe we want to see what it looks like in the real world, so we visit the Massachusetts regulatory website. Now on the exam we call the official or the agency who administers the act the administrator. In the real world it's often the Secretary of State's office. Massachusetts is actually a commonwealth, so it's the Secretary of the Commonwealth. But they have a securities division, and this is what we call the administrator on the exam. Over here in this state they like to put their enforcement actions right here so you can see the recent actions against people. These days we see the word retirees or seniors quite often. You can see here that they're talking about the designations that you can use when you want to sell to seniors. Some people have kind of abused it and called themselves certified financial gerontologists and other terms that may actually have no meaning. Okay, so we're not saying that all annuities are bad or that seniors can never buy annuities, but a lot of times the senior investor, at least these days, has been put into a deferred annuity, wasn't informed that their money is basically locked up for maybe 10 years or more. If they want their money out, there's going to be a big surrender charge, or maybe they don't understand the risks involved. Whatever it is, sell your products carefully and make sure that people understand what they're buying. Maybe we're in the state and we want to see what it would take to become an investment advisor. First of all, they define the investment advisor, which we're going to do. And you notice how financial planners fit neatly under that category, or people who manage portfolios for a fee. You register on Form ADV through the IARD, administered by FINRA, or they might say NASD. They haven't updated it to FINRA yet. You can see that the fee is $300 and that you would have to register all of your reps. There are higher financial requirements if you have custody, discretion, or you take prepayment, and this is the type of thing we'll see in other sessions. What are some other states that we could find a link to? Let's see. Basically I would say, you got about a 90% chance that if you click on any of these states you're going to find something helpful. But we happen to know that Pennsylvania is very easy to navigate, so let's take a quick look here. Obviously you can call them during their hours of operation, and they put their enforcement actions here as a database, licensing. If I want to become an advisor, what do I have to do in Pennsylvania? And they've got an advisor registration packet, the Form ADV, instructions on how to use it. If you want to withdraw Form ADVW. So FAQs would probably be very helpful. Well, as soon as they get it under construction it will be. You can see the fees in Pennsylvania. If you want to be an agent of a broker-dealer, it's this much. If you're an advisor rep, it looks like it's the same amount. This is not going to be within the Uniform Securities Act, but what's there is that the administrator has the authority to establish licensing fees, and then the various states come up with their own fees. It's more expensive in some states than others. So you might actually want to look at a few state websites just so you know that you're not studying a bunch of pretend information. You know, they might have a different title, the Securities Department or the Division of Securities. We call them the administrator, but the concepts are the same.